This concept quickly. If anyone in this room is looking for an instructor, a drill instructor, a sergeant or lieutenant to get you through this academy, get up and get out now. It's not going to happen. I'm not here to get you through the academy. That's not my function. It's not my job. My job is to place obstacles in front of you. It's your job to develop a process and how to get through those obstacles and move forward. My job is to make things uncomfortable. Discomfort promotes change, promotes better habits. From there, it's up to you whether you develop the self-discipline to sustain those habits moving forward. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
If you're looking from the outside, for outside factors to get you through this academy, do not come back on the 8th. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Welcome to F.I.D.O Talk with Dave Thompson. It's been another little bit in between podcasts. Thanks for your patience. Again, we're working on projects, no excuses. Consistency definitely has not been there, and we need to address that, and we certainly will. So today's podcast, I'd like to get into how to lead. We tend to get on tangents about do this and do that. And this is the most effective way, and this is the most ineffective way. Every way you look, it's try this, do that, be this, be that. How? Right? Like how? You can tell me to build a house, and I'd look at a pile of wood and be like, all right, what the fuck do I do now? So let's talk about how to lead. And this all came about through listening to a quick podcast by Gary John Bishop. And I implore anybody listening to this podcast to take a listen to Gary John Bishop. Take a look at his approach. And so I'm going to piggyback on a few things he said, and we're going to relate that to leadership and how should we lead, right? First and foremost, I'm a huge believer in Hal Moore's approach, General Hal Moore. Lead self daily. I think that's a great start. I think that's an amazing first skill set to build. Because no matter how much natural talent or ability you might have to do something, and I don't care in what industry or what field or whatever you're into, ability and talent can only get you so far. If you build skill sets and habits, that'll take you to where you need to go. That will do. And that's the same in leadership. There has been talk about being a natural born leader. And I think on certain levels, to an extent, there's some truth to that, or there's something to that for sure, right? That's only going to get you so far. We can be charismatic and have some magnetism and all that, but to be truly effective at anything, including leadership, you have to build a skill set. You have to work at it. This isn't something that just, you life hack it or abracadabra and holy shit, you're the top leader in whatever industry you're in. Like that doesn't work that way. And in the military, there certainly is continuous leadership teachings, continuous leadership academies and steps and evaluations and constant leadership, sharpening those skill sets and adding new skill sets and new tools to your skill sets. It's ever evolving all the way up from the top to the bottom and the bottom to the top. That's how it works. So if I was to just tell somebody, all right, if you're going to start out in leadership, you need to learn to lead yourself every day. Lead yourself daily. Great. How do I do that? Well, and this is where the podcast comes in, right? He was talking about integrity versus morality, right? What's moral versus what's integrity. And for step one, or one of the first steps in leading self daily, I would tell you to develop integrity. Where we're going to come to a little bit of bump in the road with that is the misrepresentation of really what integrity is, right? At the end of the day, integrity is keeping a promise. It's doing what you say you are going to do. And no promise is more important than the promise we make ourselves. And no one will lie to us more than we will lie to ourselves, right? And one of Gary John Bishop's premises of his whole program is stop putting up with your own bullshit. So I'm not going to dive too much into his programming. I highly recommend anybody go join his program. It's called the Unfuck Nation. His books include Unfuck Yourself, Stop Doing That Shit, Building Relationships. He's very in your face, very blunt, but very pragmatic and very, very logical, very simple, a very simplistic approach, which I really appreciate. So getting back to integrity here, develop that integrity. Integrity doesn't equate to morals and principles, right? Integrity is saying you're going to do something and doing it. And we can get all kinds of caught in the weeds and go down all kinds of rabbit holes as far as, I said I was going to do this, but I didn't say what time, or I didn't put this parameter on it, or that parameter on it, and this, that, and the other thing. Okay, we can split hairs all day long, but at the end of the day, you're lying to yourself, right? And I find this certainly true for myself, right? I am not beyond reproach when it comes to this. I'll do this, I'll procrastinate, I'll do that. Not that I won't do it, but I just can't do it now. Which at the end of the day is bullshit. It's just a choice. Lesson 1 in how to lead self is to develop that integrity. First and foremost, with yourself. If you can't build this skill set and apply it to yourself first, no way is that relatable to anybody else. Zero chance. Zero chance. Sooner or later, somebody is going to see through it. And whatever credibility you have built through the bullshit will be exposed. 100%. 100%. And that's not to say that we're not going to make mistakes. We're not going to make poor decisions or be ineffective at times. We absolutely are. Integrity comes in where we say to ourselves, we're going to fix that mistake, and we go ahead and do that and fix that mistake. Now, let me give you an example of why having morals and principles really doesn't relate to having integrity. I could go rob a store or steal something, tell myself I need A, B, and C item, and go in and steal those items. Right? I maintained my integrity. I said I went and did what I said I was going to do. Right? The morality part, the principles and values comes in whether you believe that is morally just or morally right or morally wrong. Obviously, I think the majority of people would agree that that doesn't necessarily align with good morals and principles. But you maintained your integrity because you said you were going to do something. If you say that I'm going to take care of myself daily, mind, body, and spirit, and that involves developing habits of working out, eating right, whatever spiritual, emotional exercises that, align with your spirituality, then keep that promise to yourself. Keep that promise to yourself, first and foremost. That will lend itself to you keeping promises and being a person of integrity moving forward. When we decide not to do that, let's think about the things that we are given up or the things that are lost when we choose to not keep those promises, right? Examples. If I'm going to set and be an example and I don't do what I say I'm going to do, that example just never develops at all. Credibility, trust, respect for your word, your spoken word, respect for your deeds, and that kind of thing. We're not at all creating better leaders. You might be creating some followers. You could certainly pound your chest and say, I'm in a position of authority and you will do what I do, not what I say, right? I'm sorry, you will do what I say, not what I do. And then where does that leave you? I think that leaves you in a pretty precarious spot as far as having the trust of not only your teammates, but any people in your charge. Leading self daily is, I think, a very simplistic approach. How you do that, how you develop your integrity, is keeping promises to yourself. Hold yourself accountable. Hold yourself accountable to your words, right? Words are just words. But that is, and this is a great point, and I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't. The great point by Gary John Bishop was, we don't have control over very much if we really break it down, right? There's not a lot of control. You do have control over a few things. You have control over what you say. You have control over how you take things that are said to you. You have control over your emotions. You have control over you. Beyond that, you just don't have control. If you are getting wrapped around the axle in outside circumstances, what other people are saying, what other people are doing, it's going to be extremely difficult to focus your time and energy on leading yourself daily. It's going to be extremely difficult to keep your word and develop that integrity with yourself, because you're worrying about what somebody said, what somebody called you, what somebody thinks about your approach, what somebody says, does. It's really, it's none of your business. It is what it is. There's nothing you're going to be able to do to change those words or those actions that have already happened. Use your time, your energy to work on yourself. Those examples that you're setting by doing that, it may create the next teammate to double down on themselves. That example will spread. And as everyone's developing the best versions of themselves, the team develops. The team develops into a better team, a stronger team. The organization benefits from that. The organizational goal, the overall goal. As much as the organizational goal, the overall goal, the mission statement is the first priority, it's damn near parallel with the team and you. I mean, it's just a slight difference. It's just a slight bit ahead in priorities. If you lead yourself daily, you're doing so for the betterment of the team. You're creating a better part of the team, a better piece of the team, which in turn is getting you closer to the organizational goal, fulfilling the mission statement. Once you're taken care of, once you get your sets in, your reps in, your whatever your regiment might be, once you get that done, pass on those tools and skill sets to the teammates. The teammates, in theory now, because you're dealing with human beings, and that's the most complex part of leadership. But in theory, they take that example and they start developing their own Lead Self Daily program. But nobody does it without being committed to keeping their word to themselves. I think that is an incredible start. If we believe that natural ability and being a natural born leader will make the cut, I think I can present to you tens of thousands of college athletes who never made it to the show, right? They never made it to the NFL, NHL, NBA, pro soccer, Major League Baseball. They never made it. And they might have been incredibly gifted and possessed natural ability. But dollars to donuts, they just didn't keep whatever promises they needed to keep to themselves. to get to that next level, right? I can name, well, not necessarily name, but I could probably present to you thousands of military personnel who wanted to make it to the next tier, right? They wanted to go from historic units, storied units to the first tier units, and from the first tier to the second tier to the top tier. And for whatever reason, one way or another, it didn't work out, right? It didn't. And the chances are that they just did not commit to keeping the promises they made to themselves, right? And that is a lack of integrity. And that's not to say somebody doesn't have good morals, good principles, good values. They're not honorable people. They're not mutually exclusive. It's just to say that they didn't keep their word to themselves. And I find that to be incredibly, incredibly powerful. And especially when it comes to leadership. I think that is an integral part, and I think it's a great place to start. I think it is a great place to start. So that is one of the first talks we will have as far as how to lead. And we can really get into some technical stuff and get down into the weeds and get wrapped up in all kinds of things when it comes to the subject of leadership. Day-to-day leadership, different organizational levels, different organizational structures, small team leading, mid-level leading, top level leading. There's a ton of different avenues we can go down. I truly believe that it all starts with leading self daily, and you do that. The first step, again, this is just one man's opinion. It's a way, not the way. But I believe the most effective first step is to keep the promises you make to yourself. Develop that personal integrity and start with yourself. Make promises to yourself and keep them. Follow through with them and do whatever you have to do to make those promises whole. That's it for today. And we will definitely see you on the next one. I want to thank everyone for listening to this week's episode of F.I.D.O Talk with Dave Thompson. If you would, please subscribe and review. It helps a lot. Share the word with your friends and family. Have them check it out and provide some feedback. We'd love to hear it. Check us out at barebonesleadership.com for the latest blog and different perspectives on everything leadership. Follow us on the gram and on our newly updated Facebook page. Share your comments, your thoughts, your reviews. Any and all feedback is always welcome. And don't forget, keep kicking those fucking doors in, and as always, F.I.D.O. I appreciate you guys listening. Take care, and see you next time.